Welcome back to Tweaks Garage. On this episode, we're going to be covering the charging system upgrades on Goliath here on its 18 horse duromax, flywheel, charging coil, so forth. So we're going to start with the flywheel. So as a lot of people know that best with the clone motors, which the Duramax is a clone of the Hondas, is interchangeability of parts. Whenever there's a new clone, sometimes you just gotta buy the part, take things apart, and see if it'll all work. So this is a stock flywheel off of the Duramax. Note the relation to the keyway, to the magnet for the ignition. This is a Honda flywheel. I want to say it's a UT1 version. Doesn't use the digital ignition. So we got that keyway to that. They're about the same. Well, they should be the same. I know in one of Redbeard's garage's videos, he did a charging upgrade on a, I believe it was a 420 on a Mule, and he ran into the problem where when he swapped the flywheel, I believe he was using a Lifan. The Lifan's flywheel was different. He could have probably have just gone with a bracket to move the coil. That's what I would have done. But anyways, we got two magnets versus these four large bad boys. So this was a brand new flywheel, and it's going on this engine. Regardless if it's new or not, if you're putting a flywheel from something else onto a different motor, one of the key things that you should do is lap it onto the crank. So you're basically grinding the taper to whatever taper is on the crank, so you get the best fitment, because the taper is what holds it in place. The keyway is just an alignment dowel. So we're going to cover lapping. Oh, fuck. So whenever you lap a flywheel, what you're going to want to get is valve grinding compound. Now, I'm not too happy with this product that I got here, because it separates really, really well when it just sits, even shaking up. So the watery stuff will float to the top, and all the grinding compound will sink to the bottom. You gotta mix it really, really, really well. So you're just gonna wanna slide the crank. I've already done this a little bit, but it can't hurt to do it again. You're just gonna hold the motor in place and spin the flywheel on it. This is much easier with everything apart, FYI, the crank out, because you can just sit the flywheel down on the table and spin it. But I'm doing it the hard way. So you want to put a little pressure behind it and just work it back and forth. Lapping the flywheel. The more you do it, the better the fit will be. But then the next step is to clean everything off. For that, just going to use some good old handy dandy brake clean. See? Hasn't even been too long and it's already starting to separate. And that's what I don't like about this stuff. But I bought it, paid for it, I'm going to use it all. And you want to clean the flywheel. So I'm going to clean that over here. Flywheel taper is nice and clean. So that's all done. So I've got the hardware. This is the original hardware that came on the stock coil. And you only get 2 of these because the stock coil just has 2 bolts. But this one has 4. Now, people do recommend you get the Honda hardware, but I'm not going to buy that. I'm just going to use some bolts that I have lying around and some Loctite. So long story short, I ended up having some thread issues, so I had to go with some longer bolts. But we got bolts in there. So that's done. Next we're going to take... Ah, son of a bitch. Well, looks like they're coming back off. So now with this, I'll be able to add hand warmers or more lights or other electrical accessories if I really need to. I got a pretty decent sized buffer room, and there really was no... It was either this or something that was probably not going to cut it. So that's on there. And one of the things NR Racing recommended while emailing them back and forth was this 6-degree offset key. We talked about my application and what I'm doing, and they recommended using this offset key. So I'm just going to hit it with my gun. Normally I just torque this down, but my gun will be fine. So I've got it all tightened down. Regapped the coil to 16 thou. This is the voltage regulator. This I'm probably going to mount somewhere over here. Obviously, it's got all this length of harness, so, but that I'm just going to leave for right now. We'll figure that out later. I got a mess of wiring that I have to redo, and a switch I got to check. So that's going to be later once we get more of everything assembled, so that I can figure out where to mount the battery box. This is probably going to be like right around somewhere here. or like this. Probably like this. Maybe. But I usually leave all the wiring and stuff for last once everything is all kind of in its place and all the extra items that I'm adding are in place. That way I can kind of do a clean job of wiring everything and laying everything out. But charging coil is on, so tune in to the next episode where I'll be doing something else. I don't know at this moment what we'll be doing next, because there's a lot going on. But thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.